Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today with our partner Velixo. To give you a short presentation, Velixo help you with the real-time reporting, budgeting, and AI for finance inside the Excel your team already runs, basically. They also connect it live to your ERP with no middleware, no cube, no data warehouse, like no 6 months BI projects. The number is in your cell is the number in your ERP. So today we have with us Tala from Velexo, which is the account manager. So I'll let her, give her the hand basically so that she can present you today's webinar. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Yusra. And thank you everyone for joining us today. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen here. It's not letting me. All right, there we go. Can you see my screen properly? All good?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Well, thank you again for joining us. My name is Tala. I am a partner account manager at Velixo. So I work very closely with DNA. They're actually not that far from us, just a few hours by car. And we thought we'd put this session together specifically for construction teams. So the people who look at how they report, budget, and forecast today and think there has to be something better. There has to be a better way to do this and to make it a lot quicker and a lot seamless. So our goal is to show you what's new with Velixo for construction, which is a brand new vertical that we launched just earlier this year, and how it can make those everyday tasks so much easier. So let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. We will start with a very brief PowerPoint presentation just to give you a taste on who we are, what we do, and what Velixo can do for your construction company. And then we'll go straight to Excel. This is where the bulk will be. So you'll be able to see Velixo in action. I'll show you some of the templates actually, which will be really interesting. And towards the end, we have a Q&A session. So please feel free to put some questions in the chat and I'll be able to answer them at the end. So, a little bit about us first. We were founded in 2017. We're relatively new by someone named Gabriel who comes from the Acumatica ecosystem. So, he's an ex Acumatica leader who saw the opportunity to build Velixo as an Excel add in after noticing for so many years that users just kept going back and back to Excel for the reporting, budgeting, and analysis needs. So, a lot of those conversations just really highlighted the need for more flexibility in terms of reporting. And you've been very successful at that. We've won some awards. And then, of course, if you're curious about what other clients are saying of us currently, we have some really nice and detailed reviews on G2. Before we get into Velixo itself, let me take a step back and talk about the challenges we commonly see with construction teams running on an ERP. So these are the recurring pain points that come up in almost every conversation that we have, and you probably relate to it as well. But the first one, and that's a really big one, is simply flexibility. So they tell us that they can't get the reports that they actually want out of the box. Maybe they can't format it the way they need, or maybe they need to build new ones themselves. They tend to struggle to analyze transactions or maybe share certain reports, being able to collaborate on them. So this just leads to more frustration and decisions being made on incomplete information. The second one would be the missing live Excel connection. So everyone wants their data in Excel. It's a product that we all know and love. But the moment that you export, you lose that link. So by the time that you've cleaned and consolidated your data, it's already out of date. It's a very repetitive process, as you can imagine, and it usually takes several exports. And consolidating them is very complex. And of course, it's very prone to error because you just keep doing it over and over again. Now, the third one, which is pretty interesting, and it comes with the first two challenges, is the slow manual data entry. So entering master data, transactions, it takes a lot of clicks, it takes a lot of time. I need to ensure all the fields are properly maintained, that the data quality doesn't slip, and the built-in import tools only go so far. So people tend to always fall back onto spreadsheets and those manual imports anyways. So these three big themes, which is the flexibility, data entry, and the missing live Excel link, are exactly what sets up everything that we're about to show you and what Velixo does. So here's where Velixo comes in. And think about how a construction, finance, or project team actually works, which you probably relate to. You live in Excel, your numbers are live in Acumatica. So Velixo, you can think of it as that bridge that connects those two worlds, where you'll be able to pull real-time project and financial data straight into Excel. So it's all live, it's formula-based, there's nothing fancy there. And then once you're in it, you can explore it live actuals, commitments, cost codes, whichever you need to. And there's no data warehouse. That makes it a lot quicker. And there's no waiting on a massive refresh. The construction reports that you need are already built and backed by our functions. So there's different ways of looking at Velixo. You could either start from scratch. They're just formulas, so you can build anything that you want. You can insert those formulas onto your existing reports, or you can simply rely on our templates, which we have a really nice library of, and I'll show you in just a few minutes. So you can rely on them and then customize them to your needs the way that you like. And the part that matters most for construction is that it's bidirectional. So not only can you pull your data, you can also push it back using the exact same workbook or even the exact same sheet. So this is very helpful for budgets, forecasts, journal entries, whichever you need to do. So you'll be able to do it immediately. Building on that, let me just ground why this matters, specifically for construction. So first, it extends Acumatica construction rather than replacing anything. So it's built for those users specifically. We have really nice reports, templates that are essentially plug and play on screens that you already know and are familiar with. You have project forecasts, cost projections, commitment tracking, that sort of thing. Second, the write back is a real productivity story for construction. I think that's really the highlight and where we shine is because you'll be able to just send up anything that you need to. You can upload those journal entries, budgets, whichever you need to do in bulk. So it's all going to be done with one button, which is going to save you a lot of time. And the third one, Excel reporting just fits how construction works. Excel is what we know, is what we use across different teams. So it has a very low learning curve. It's very self-service, and it's fully customizable. So one thing that you'll notice also throughout the demo is that point of it being a very self-service product and has a very low learning curve. We want you to be comfortable using it, and I'll also show you some of the tools that we have to assist you on this journey, which is more towards the end and regarding our training offering. All right. So on that note, I'm going to open up our Excel sheet. We'll start with Whip over here. So to download Velixo, I just simply did it using our add-ins, and you'll end up with this new ribbon inserted onto your workbook. In my case, it's a workbook with reports already built in it, but you could have just opened an empty one. It's really up to you. And all of these functionalities will now be inserted. Now, the starting point will be your connection manager. And you'll notice in my case, I'm already connected to an Acumatica instance and all of the information that I need to build my connection. So either a single sign-on or just simply rely on your Acumatica login page. So copy and paste your URL, same tenant, same credentials. This is how we ensure all of your permissions that you have set up in Acumatica are also being transferred. So you also don't need to worry about someone viewing data or making updates that they're not allowed to do. And what we're looking at here, this is a whip, and this is the first example that I wanted to show you. But before I do that, I wanted to show you where you can download it yourself, because we do have a nice library of templates, like I mentioned earlier. If you go in the help section and click on download report templates, it's going to open this very nice library. And then we'll be able to select a tag. We do have 47 templates so far, and it's always increasing. So you can just simply choose the one that you like, let's say construction, and you'll notice we have 14 results. So you'll be able to download them or view the article first, which is very, very helpful, by the way. If I just click on it, just to show you a quick example, it's extremely detailed. So it tells you what it covers, the typical audience, it gives you a preview as well, and it tells you how to go through the template and how you can start using it, which is very helpful if you're just getting started. So this is where you can find those templates. I'm going to show you a WIP, a cost to complete, and a project profitability, and they all work with the same logic of what's going on in the background. Um, so let's start with this one. So this workbook in particular contains 5 sheets actually. We have the WIP project. So this is a summarized report that's going to track the financial status of all of your ongoing projects, including accumulated costs and revenue. And the second tab, second sheet over here, this is a more detailed report that's going to have a task level breakdown to track the financial status of ongoing projects, of course, including accumulated costs and revenues. And in this tab in particular, I'll show you also how you can perform a write back for creating journal entries as well. So pretty interesting. And then we have our control tab. So in all of our templates, or maybe 99% of them, you'll have a control tab that's mostly just for data validation. So this is to be able to reconcile estimates with contract data if you need to. And then we have the options and information. So options simply is like a settings sheet that is used for the data validation list and for other lookups. So we won't really take a look at those today. These are a bit more detailed, but I just wanted you to know that they're available in case you ever needed to go into more depth or figure out what's going on in the background. And you'll always have an information sheet as well that takes you directly to the help article. If there's a new version, you'll also be able to see it and any new changes that have occurred since you've last downloaded if you're doing it time and time again. All right, so let's go back to our star of the show, which is our work in progress or WIP project. So what you'll notice here, we have our filters. So here we have it branch, status, and project. This is what we're choosing. So for the branch, this is a drop-down list. So nothing fancy there. We're just using Excel, except we're feeding it with what lives in Acumatica. So it's pulling all of the branches that we have in our Acumatica instance. And we have our status. So same logic. You'll be able to display which status of the project you're looking at, active, completed, so on and so forth. And this is an optional filter, so if you need to just select and display a specific project in your report, not all of them, you'll be able to also select it as such. All right, so what you're looking at here, we have so for those first two, by the way, the project and their description, you can also just open up this tiny section over here and add more information like status, customer, project manager, start date, branches, whichever it is. All of this is getting pulled straight from a GI or generic inquiry that we built in Acumatica. So we're just simply referencing it, choosing which columns we need to, and there it is. Now, for the rest of the formulas and what we're looking at here, so we have our contract value, estimated cost, commitment, we have projected cost at completion, estimated profit, so on and so forth. If I go back to that contract value and zoom in a little bit, so it's clearer. So this refers to the total agreed upon amount for a project in Acumatica, and the amounts are directly sourced from the project contract. So what we have here, we have our original. This is based on the contract's original initial agreed upon price, and we're pulling it simply using one of our formulas, which is project budget amount. And like any formula, we're just simply filling up the argument, so we'll be able to pull in the data. And by the way, in case you were ever in doubt about the formula that you're using, you're not really sure what it does. In this case, it's pretty straightforward, but if not, you can always click on it and it's going to open up our help center, which tells you everything that you need. So there's a syntax, there's more detail on the arguments. And if I keep scrolling, then there's an example with an expected result. So you always use your formula in confidence and you'll be able to make sure that you're using it properly. All right, so let's get rid of that. So we're talking about the original. For the change order, this reflects the total value of approved contract changes. Same logic, pulling it straight from Acumatica using the formula project change order amount. So standard Velixo function. And then for our revise, so the updated contract value, including the original amount plus the approved change orders, and the balances are getting pulled using project revise budget amount. So it's going to be the same logic when we go to estimated cost for the original change order and revised, except here the estimated cost represents the projected total cost of completing a project. It also takes into consideration all anticipated expenses and all resources. So pulling it straight from Acumatica. And let me just scroll more to the right. For our commitment, so this is how much cost was committed based on the approved contracts, POs, or subcontracts. So it's really the portion of the project that's already been allocated but not yet spent. So same thing, we have original, change orders, and revised. For our original, we're using project committed amount, so the initial agreed upon amount based on the contract. Change orders, same thing, project, committed change order amount. So you get the point. It's essentially the same thing. It's just pulling it from different areas in Acumatica and putting it straight onto your Excel sheet. So now you're not really pulling it statically. All of this is connecting straight to your ERP instance. So where this really matters is that every time, if you notice, every time that I re-hit enter on a formula, every time you use a formula for the first time, every time you hit refresh, it's going to go to Acumatica and query this data directly. So you ensure that what you're seeing here, this is the most accurate information that there is. So you don't need to worry about something being out of date. Or you can also have it set up in your options tab that, every time I open the file, please refresh everything. You'll be able to do it in this way as well. All right, so if you scroll all the way down a bit more, you'll notice we have our projected cost at completion over here. So this just refers to the projected total expenses expected to be incurred on a project by the time it's completed. And same thing, pulling it straight from Acumatica with project cost at completion. Then we have our estimated profit over here, and then we have our actual cost, our actual earnings. So anything that lives in Acumatica can be pulled onto Excel, which is going to make those reports just that much better and that much, essentially just going to be life-changing from this point. One thing I wanted to mention at this stage as well was if you look here at your actual cost, so this refers to the real incurred expenses associated with the project. It includes all paid costs and expenditures that are recorded during the project's execution. We also have them segmented onto month to date and cost to date. So this is for you to be able to compare the current month's cost, for example, against the total costs that you need to do. Also getting pulled from Acumatica, so project turnover amount. And if you notice, there's different ways that we used formulas. So in this case, in a lot of those formulas, we're pulling it straight from project. So it always starts with project. And for that first segment, we pulled it from a GI. So sometimes you'll be able to use formulas that are prepared for projects, or you can rely on your generic inquiries depending on the situation and the report you're trying to build. Now, if you take a look at that second tab, so it follows a similar structure to the summarized WIP we just saw, but it includes an additional breakdown by task. So if you needed to look at a more of a detailed view, you'll be able to do it as well. Now, what I really like about this template is that it includes write back. So our way of pushing lines of data, whatever we did here, being able to send it to Acumatica. So what we're doing here is that we're creating journal entries for over and under billings using our Velixo formula, which is simply write back journal. And we could get into more depth here, but essentially all you need to know is that we have a few fields that need to be filled so that we're able to properly create this journal entry. So we have our header description, posting option. So the desired state of the journal entry, you want to do it as upload, and the ledger, of course. So there's a few things that you need to do. But the idea here is that, you can add a line description. And then once you're done doing any calculations or refresh, whichever you need to do, you'll be able to click on Perform Write Back, and it's going to send it all to Acumatica at once. Of course, I'm allowed to do it because I have the authorization to do so. And we'll just give it a second. And it's going to send my over and under billings. All right, should be done by now. And we'll get a confirmation here shortly. That line has been uploaded. All right, wonderful. So this was really the report where I wanted to spend the most time on because it is our most popular one, the WIP. One thing I wanted to mention is that this is just an Excel workbook by the end of the day. So if you needed to customize it, remove a logo, put your own, add a column, whichever you need to do, you're welcome to do it. And really make it your own. The only thing I would recommend is just ensure that the Verlixo formulas, if they're tied to any other cells, just make sure they're properly referenced. But that's really it. So on that note, I'm going to open up one of our other templates, which is our cost to complete. We have various versions of our cost to complete. So there's a manual one, there's one that's amount. I'm choosing a percent based in this case, but it's the same logic where, it's a fully dynamic, it's a real-time report, and it's extracting data from several modules. So contract, we have different estimates, whichever it may be. We have the options tab and the information tab I mentioned earlier, but we're just going to focus on those ones essentially. And what we're doing here, we're giving you a 360-degree view of a project from a cost perspective. So it's very helpful usually for project managers to be able to track those costs to date versus what's planned, what has been billed, and also being allowed to forecast for future costs before they're entered into Acumatica. So what we're looking at here, we just have a few filters as well. So our project, as of date, and projection class. And we have a summary over here in case you ever need to, or you can just hide it if you don't really care for it. Same logic, we're using a GI to pull some information over here. And we have some Velixo formulas that are being able to pull our project budget amount, the change order amount, and the revised budget amount, so on and so forth. If I scroll a bit further, you'll notice there's a percent complete that I'll be able to modify to. So maybe this should be 5%, 10%, whichever it may be. So this is something that you'll be able to manually do it. And at this stage, I'm just simply in Excel. Nothing's being keyed officially onto Acumatica. I'm just really doing my whichever I need to do. And then if I need to add a line description for my write back or like a description memo, I'll be able to do it. And then same logic, once I'm ready, click on Perform Write Back, and then it's going to write back to my cost projection screen. So this is also a different scenario where we're using our write back. Now on that note, there's a small thing I wanted to mention. This is something new that we've added, which is our freeze and unfreeze capabilities. So this essentially you'll be able to temporarily freeze Velixo formulas. This is helpful so that nothing changes. For example, during the month-end forecasting, you'll be able to temporarily freeze those formulas. So it's not really doing any changes or live updates, and you'll be able to unfreeze it when you need it to. You can also save a copy. So if you need to permanently save a copy that maybe doesn't have the Velixo formulas or it's just a static report, our snapshot feature will be extremely helpful because it's just going to, you'll be able to do it without going through the whole process of doing it manually. All right, now the third report that I wanted to show you is project profitability. What we're looking at, same logic, options tab, information tab, and the star of the show, our very first tab over here. So what we're looking at, it's going to help you track and analyze the financial performance of ongoing and completed projects. And it's going to pull also really key metrics like cost, revenue, margins to give you this clear picture of your project's profitability. Same logic is always going to be pulling from your projects. And if you notice, some functions are actually just straight up Excel. It doesn't really use Velixo because we work in harmony with it. And depending on how you play around with your parameters, it's also going to switch up those parameters for the selected templates, sorry, for the selected formulas. And by the way, in the as of, and a lot of times there's a date on there, when left blank, it's just going to choose today's date. That's just the way that it is put, essentially. All right. There is one thing I wanted to show you as well, which is our drill down in our distribution list. So drill down is something that's a little bit deeper. So let's say if I open here my cost to complete, I have some numbers. I would like to know what's going on in the background. I can always just select a cell, click on drill down, or right click and also go on drill down. So same thing. And for every single cell, you can perform this, and wherever it's relevant, it's going to be able to pull the relative information. So, for example, source transactions. In this case, we're looking at commitments, and it gives you a bit more information. So it tells you, for example, here we have our cost code, account group, inventory ID. In our case, it's not relevant, but it could be. And we have some more columns that might be useful. And by the way, this will take you directly to the source cell where it's pulling from. And this will take you directly to your Acumatica screen. So maybe I actually need to see it in Acumatica to know more details. So now you'll be able to. It's like a direct link to that particular screen. Now, if you ever need to send those reports, maybe it's the same one, you need to send it on a recurring basis, or maybe to several people, but each person wants a different version of a report. You can benefit from our distribution list. If I just click on it, it's going to generate a template like this one. And you can configure it once, and you don't need to always maintain it unless you're adding more people to the list. But you can choose how you want to send your report. You can send it the way it is. You can remove Velixo formulas or all of them, or as a PDF. Then you'll put the basics, so file name, which tab. You can also save a copy internally or wherever you need to, and more details. So who you're sending the email to, the body, if there's any Wi-Fi, if there's any file password. And the last point would be our email delivery option. So again, you can view it in drafts or you can have it sent immediately. And that's pretty much it. The concept is the same as the templates of the reports, which is you build it once and then you don't need to always recreate it or always remaintain it. You simply need to refresh. And in this case, you simply need to click on distribute, let's say once a month, once a week, whenever those reports need to be sent out, and they will be sent out accordingly. On that note, I said a whole lot of things about how to use Velixo, the formulas, about some of our features, the more important ones pertaining to construction. But I think what would be really useful is also showing you what comes with Velixo, which is our Velixo Academy. So this is your one-stop shop for everything related to self-paced training. So essentially, if you scroll, there's a whole bunch of courses on there, but you'll notice it starts from the very basics. So how to get started, how do I download it, where do I find everything, how is it organized? And then if you're a bit more comfortable with Excel and Velixo, it does get into more depth. We have a course that's specifically for templates. We have things that are more detailed. So if you need to, you're going to be very well supported using our training, which by the way is offered free of charge. It is available for you from day one. All right. On that note, I think we can open up the floor for any questions. And I'll have this on the screen, this very nice customer success story that we have, while I check our chat section. I don't think I see anything yet. Yusra, did you receive any questions?
No question yet. No.
All right. I'll give you guys a minute. And if not, I know sometimes the questions come afterwards because that was a lot of information. So sometimes you need to go back, maybe while you're working on your report, especially with month end, you're working on certain reports. Some things might come to mind like, oh, can Velixo help me with this maybe? So please feel free to let us know and we'll be happy to assist you at that stage. All right, I don't think I see anything else on my side.
No question yet. Maybe you can tell and like answer some recurrent question that usually companies asks.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the most common questions would be what else can write-back do? So we saw how we can use write-back in the scenario for journal entries, but this specific functionality can also be used for pushing back budgets, for forecasting, but really sky's the limit. So you can do whatever you need to do. I've seen it being used for like sales orders, um, for like stock items, process orders, purchase orders, whichever you need to do. So write-back is very, very powerful and it can be used for different sides of the business, depending on what you need to do.
Great. Thank you so much, Tala. Would you have anything else to present to our audience today?
No, that was really it for me today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Tala. Thank you, everyone. And I'm gonna send you everyone the recording just right after. And again, thank you to our partner, Velixo, for this amazing product that they're offering. And yeah, see you another time. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.